Hi there. This talk is entitled Why Open Source? This is for the Hack Day sponsored by NUST. I want to thank you for allowing me to be here and give this presentation over recording. Sorry I can't be there in person to deliver the talk. My name is Adam Bergstein. I go by Nerdstein, the Associate Director of Engineering at a company called Civic Actions in California, in the United States of America. I have a Master's of Science from Penn State University in Information Systems and Security, and I'm an open source contributor to the Drupal project. As part of this talk, I want to talk a bit about my journey into open source and to try to help give others some perspective when they're thinking about possibly contributing. Whenever I graduated from college, I really, had this mission. I'm going to program everything, and I want to just dive right in and custom code everything that I could find and everything I could do. It was kind of naive, It was almost like I'm gonna take over the world, and it's good to be ambitious and it's good to have that. I also think it's really good to try to focus that energy. I really viewed the world from trying to solve everything with programming, and in the spirit of that, I actually developed my own handmade custom CMS framework. And that really was a good exercise for me, to do and think about the problems that are in the content management space. But it definitely posed some issues. First, no one really ever had heard of the CMS that I did. I didn't open source it. I did it all myself. Everything that I developed was handmade. And I noticed that organizations were already solving the same issues that I was trying to solve with the work that I was doing. And it kind of occurred to me one day that it was very difficult for me to make any sort of impact with the work that I was doing just by solving the problems myself. So that occurred to me like, wow, gee, that really seems very hard to do. So let's take a look at what was going on in corporate America approximately 12, 13 years ago. Um, First, everybody in corporate America was really favoring proprietary solutions and proprietary vendors. They were viewed as more stable or more secure because you were paying a service to a company and it was less risky. You could just pick up the phone and call, a Microsoft, an Oracle, any company like that, and you could get some help if you were paying for it, right? And open source was really slowly gaining traction. It wasn't widely adopted, but it was kind of taboo, mostly because of a lack of understanding of how to use it or how to support it. There wasn't some company you could just call and pick up the phone, at least back then. But we need to take a look at exactly what was appealing about open source. The ice began to thaw, so corporate America started to be open to it for a number of different reasons. First, because it's typically free. The tools and frameworks that are supported by open source projects had growing adoption and they were becoming more stable. Corporations were realizing that they're already paying tons of money to train people and get support. So why not dedicate that money towards open source work and open source communities and open source knowledge? And they were finding too that it was much easier to hire developers and people because they were more motivated to contribute to these projects and use the work from these open source communities. So really the realization is that open source is transformative. Over time, it's been learned and realized that moving away from proprietary solutions and moving into open source can be a huge benefit to companies and organizations. And the future is looking really great and has looked really good for open source work. One of the really great things for me is I took all the work that I did in building a custom CMS and I applied that to Drupal. And I started learning at the time. I found so many different jobs of people that wanted to hire Drupal experts. And over time, I learned and grew and contributed back to the project so that I could get up to speed on Drupal. So what was the motivation here exactly behind using and adopting open source? Well, first, I wanted to program. Like I knew that that was one of my passions, and I wanted to do technical work. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It's totally fun, right? I also knew I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to give back to something bigger than myself. I learned that doing my own CMS project was just completely unsustainable, but I wanted to give back to something that was larger so that that others could have benefit from it and there would be purpose. And this relates directly to the butterfly effect quote here. It has been said that something as small as the flutter of a butterfly's wing can ultimately cause a typhoon halfway around the world. And that's absolutely true. So definitely look into that. I knew I also wanted to learn relevant skills, and I wanted to make sure that I was continuously learning and staying relevant in the field. And open source projects are an incredible way to do that. And there's so much diversity. Most projects touch like every aspect of development, from security to design patterns, front end, visual technology or styling, databases, systems infrastructures, DevOps, continuous integration. Most projects touch all of these things, and they're all part of the open source community. And I knew I wanted to get a great job. I really wanted to be more marketable. I wanted to contribute, to something that others used, so I could have a job and be more sustainable. There'd be more opportunities. And I also wanted a job that prioritized giving back to these open source communities because it has more purpose. And the CEO of Automatic, who works on WordPress, basically has a really great quote about this. If you can grow into a recognized position in an open source project, that puts you 10 steps ahead of applications even from folks with 20 years experience in the field. I also wanted community. I felt being on the island of doing my own work, I wanted to work with others that were very passionate about solving problems and evolving a dedicated framework for doing so. This is a picture of Portland at the DrupalCon Portland that was in 2013, I believe. And you can see this is just a fraction of the people that contribute to Drupal. And it's huge. It's a huge community, and there's so much diversity in people's skills. It's amazing. And this is a quote by Rachel Walchen, basically saying, smile knowing that you are a part of something infinitely bigger than yourself. And that is absolutely true when looking and working within an open source community. So my plea to you as part of your activities at Hack Day is go and contribute. Identify something that you're passionate about. Pitch in, even if it's small. Improve your own skills and things that you're interested in, and give back to something that's bigger than yourself. So thank you very much. I really appreciate being here, part of this event. I wish I could be there in person, and I wish you all a very great Hack Day. Thank you.